Given the pretty conflict resolutionary endings in both Xenoblade 1 and 2, both games ending in a world which a conflict, an overarching conflict and war being resolved. In Xenoblade 1, it is the Mechon versus the Homs, and in Xenoblade 2, it's more of the fight for the land and everything. But both pretty much games end in a world where you would think going forward there wouldn't be nearly as much conflict because the overarching wars of the respective games were ended and seemingly resolved. However, this ideal future that we would think would be had with the protagonists seemingly being successful to an extent in their own games is completely contrasted with the beginning narrative we're seeing for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, surprisingly, is a war which, having the previous two Xenoblade games take place in worlds that are torn and consistently have wars in them, having another Xenoblade game start with a war wouldn't sound that far-fetched. However, what makes it far-fetched is that this world is the direct combination of the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2, Allrest and not Ionis. The worlds of Allrest and the Bionis and the Mechonis of Xenoblade 1. However, we see two sides. The two sides of protagonists, Melia and Nia, seemingly fighting against each other. Which, these were both protagonists in their respective games that were fighting against the wars that plagued their worlds back in their original games. So to see them fighting rather than going for peaceful resolution begs the question, what happened? Now, granted, we're not going to know this until the game comes out and we play it, but essentially Jin from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, now we're going to start getting into spoiler territory, which of course you should only be watching this video if you played Xenoblade 1 and 2. If you haven't, I don't know what's wrong with you. You won't really understand what I'm saying unless you play those games, so go play them. But Jin was one of, if not the most pivotal character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You see him go from being a protagonist in Torna to an antagonist, completely ruthless antagonist in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And the reason why I'm mentioning Jin, of course you can mention a bunch of different characters, but Jin, literally his entire hatred for humanity was because humanity would continue to start wars again and again with senseless killing for seemingly, if it was for no reason, it was just someone above everybody else causing this to happen because it benefited them. The main reason why he hated Amalthus was because of this. Amalthus was just sending soldiers, killing people senselessly just because he could, and to continue his power and whatnot. And so at the end of Xenoblade 2, when Jin dies, Rex gives Jin the hope that that would not be a continuous cycle, that the cycle of war and death and unnecessarily killing, that human nature that Jin was fighting against would not continue, because Rex would try and do everything he can to prevent that, gave Jin hope in his final moments. However, as it stands right now, whatever Rex and Shulk did in their worlds was not effective, because we're seeing the worlds go to war. Now, I'm saying this as just initial speculation. We have no idea what happened. We're gonna know that by playing the game, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention because when you think about Jin, his entire hatred is because he was literally a product. He was a product of, went through suffering because of unnecessary human violence. Losing Laura and Hayes. Losing both Laura and Hayes because of just unnecessary violence. And he was fighting because in Xenoblade 2, the main game, because he thought humanity would this was a cycle that couldn't be broken. That humans would just continue to perpetuate this violence and use blades to perpetuate said violence. And, you would think that at the end, when he gets his sort of story resolved, or he's at peace, because he sees that Rex is that hope of humanity, going from that to Xenoblade 3, where the humanity seemingly is taken away because you got people that are literally just made for 10 years to fight, and that's it. Like, people are literally just fighting for senseless fighting, which is essentially the same things blades were used for in Xenoblade 2, which Jin also had a problem with. And so you have two characters, Nia and Melia, that are perpetuating this war. Granted, we don't know everything that's going on, but regardless, we know that there are human figures that are creating this war, which proves Jin's point about humans being able to only continually perpetuate violence for power or whatever, and just not care about the lives that are being taken because of their purpose. Like, lives are expendable to humans if it's for their own purpose. Having another war between these two integral protagonists proves that point about humans being flawed in that way that Jin was arguing and showing through his entire arc from Torna to Xenoblade 2. Literally, in Torna, Jin was a pacifist. He was powerful, but he didn't really like to fight, and because of the suffering he went through, seeing Laura die and seeing the capabilities of Amalthus just continually wiping out people for no reason, just for power, and seeing people just completely disregarding life and killing each other senselessly, going through everything he went through to become the completely, like, gut-hearted, heartless, you would think, antagonist in the game after Torna. You see Jin literally be a product of all of the suffering and pain because of unnecessary fighting and wars. And so I just wanted to point that out, that as of right now, as it stands, Jin's perspective of humanity was correct. I'm not saying that that means we need to go wipe out everybody, of course not. Because I think that in this game, what we're going to see is how we get back to that point of of having that resolution where it's not just fighting, senseless violence, senseless killing. I think that's going to be, that's clearly the conflict of the game, where people dying simply after 10 years. So it's going to be interesting how I really don't think in this game they're going to say that just humanity sucks and there's no redeeming everything. Jin is right, we should just kill everybody. I don't think that that's, I obviously don't think that that's going to be the case, because Xenoblade, they always have a really big conflict and find some way to resolve it. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Monolith Soft goes about resolving this conflict, because you would think after all the resolution in Xenoblade 1 and 2 that there would be some sort of peacetime. If you would think that if the worlds of Shulk and Rex crossed, that it would be peace, that they would talk and everything would be good, but that's not the case. And this game is obviously going to be us figuring out why that is. But something else I want to point out is that, well, this will be mentioned in a later video I'm working on, but both worlds are now in chaos with no seeming higher power, because Zanza was defeated in both Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. Well, Klaus is his actual name, but the divine figure being the architect in Xenoblade 2 and then Zanza in Xenoblade 1 are gone. So is this the sign of showing the imperfection in humanity is why you kind of need a overarching figure? You need some figure with power or structure, because you can't let humans unto themselves govern themselves, because it'll just lead into war. Now, that's a whole nother discussion video I got planned, but I just thought that was an interesting thing I wanted to slide in there. But let me know your thoughts down below. I mean, I really think that Xenoblade 3 is probably going to be the last Xenoblade game. I think that there's going to be other games that Monolith Soft works on that'll be considered Xeno games, but I really think this is going to be the sort of finale, because it just seems like this is going to wrap up the ending stories of 1 and 2, which I didn't really think that Xenoblade 3 would be a wrap up of 1 and 2. I thought it would be like its own thing, but it's interesting to see the route that they're going, and I definitely want to see how they're going to disprove Jin, or whoever's going to be the Jin of this game. There's going to be some sort of antagonist. There has to be, that is on the same level of Jin, saying that humanity is horrible because look at this, right? There's got to be someone that argues that point. Jin argued it in Xenoblade 2, and so I think that we're going to see someone else argue it in Xenoblade 1. I mean, in Xenoblade 3. But yeah, comment down your thoughts down below. Of course, we're excited for Xenoblade 3. Thank you all for the support on these Xenoblade games. I mean, Xenoblade videos. I plan to do more speculation. Don't worry about spoilers. I'm not going to cover any sort of videos that are coming out in regards to the gameplay of Xenoblade. I don't plan to do that until the game comes out. Once the game comes out, I'm going to play through it. I'm not going to stream it because I want to experience it for myself. But I'm probably going to do videos of like my experience, like with X amount of hours in the game. So it'll be like after every certain amount of hours, I will do a video about it. But regardless, thank you all for watching this video. Thank you all for the support on the Xenoblade videos. I'll definitely keep them coming. But make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. A lot of you all aren't subscribed, but if you want to see some more cool Xenoblade and Nintendo content, make sure you subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and I will see y'all in the next video. I absolutely love y'all, and today we shall seize our destiny. No, I'm kidding, but still, love y'all.